"Humans," he spat, addressing his court with evident disdain, his voice echoing through the grand hall. "They are nothing but vermin. How dare they claim space alongside us, as if they belong?" The Emperor's hatred was visceral, rooted in a sense of superiority and entitlement to the galaxy's resources and lives. He saw humanity as a blemish, a race far too resilient for their own good, one that had risen swiftly through the technological ranks and dared to assert itself on the galactic stage. His court, a collection of alien dignitaries and military officers, murmured in agreement, though a faint unease lingered in the air. The Emperor's ambition to exterminate humanity entirely was no secret, but none dared to question his judgment. Despite their agreement with his supremacy, they knew all too well that humanity's history was one of survival, ingenuity, and defiance. But on this particular day, Varanos' plans would face an unexpected complication. A delegation from the Galactic Council had requested an urgent audience, arriving under diplomatic immunity. Among them stood Kralin, a council elder and one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, whose wisdom and insight had maintained peace for millennia. Draped in robes that shimmered with the light of distant stars, Kralin was a stark contrast to Varanos, serene, thoughtful, and calculating. The Emperor's contempt was evident as he sneered. "You bring warnings to me, Kralin? The Council's relevance fades with each passing century. Perhaps, Your Excellency," Kralin replied calmly, unfazed by the Emperor's hostility. "Yet the Council advises caution in matters concerning humanity. They have refrained from joining the Galactic Council by choice, remaining neutral. However, neutrality should not be mistaken for weakness. Humanity's influence is not as dormant as you believe." Varanos laughed, a cold, hollow sound that resonated through the hall. "A colony of ants. That's all they are, and I am the boot that will crush them." Kralin's gaze remained steady. "You underestimate them at your peril, Varanos. Humanity has spent centuries in seclusion, but they are observant and they are prepared. Our intelligence suggests they possess advanced military capabilities, forces that would surprise even you." The Emperor's expression darkened. His pride bristled at the idea that humans, a race he considered beneath his notice, could pose any legitimate threat. "Enough of your rambling. Humanity's so-called force is inconsequential. I will not allow them to fester and grow. Their extermination will be swift." Kralin raised a hand, a subtle yet firm gesture. "We are not here to argue, but to counsel. The Council does not wish for an open war. Provoking them may lead to repercussions. Humanity's alliances, their technology. There are unknowns here that we cannot dismiss." With a swift motion, Varanos dismissed the elder's words, his patience thinning. "I am the ruler of the Galactic Empire. The Council's fears are your own, not mine. I'll crush humanity myself if necessary." He waved a hand toward the palace guards, signaling for the Council members to be escorted out. "Your council is over." Kralin lingered only a moment, his expression unreadable. "Be warned, Varanos. Humanity's wrath, should it be provoked, may consume us all." And with that he turned, leaving the hall in silence as he and his delegation departed. But his words lingered, reverberating through the minds of those in the room. As the heavy doors closed, Varanos' mind was already elsewhere. He wouldn't waste time on further counsel. In his arrogance, he viewed the warning as nothing more than the paranoia of an elder past his prime. Humanity would be eradicated. He decided, swiftly and without remorse. He began issuing orders immediately. His fleet commanders and tactical advisors scrambled to enact his plans, his war machine gearing up for yet another campaign. The humans would be given no chance to escape his wrath. His empire had conquered star systems without resistance, subdued warriors and sages alike. Surely, humanity would be no different. But deep within the labyrinth of Elixir, even his most loyal advisors exchanged wary glances. Word of humanity's rumored resilience had reached them, too. The human race was known to thrive under threat, to innovate and retaliate with startling ferocity when backed into a corner. The caution Kralin offered was dismissed by their emperor, but within the ranks of the Empire, the seeds of doubt had already taken root. And so, the edict was sent across the Empire, commanding Varanos' vast fleets to mobilize against humanity. The countdown to annihilation had begun, heralding what the Emperor believed would be his ultimate triumph. Yet on a hidden outpost light years away, humanity had received its own warning from the Council. The Galactic Empire would soon be upon them, and neutrality was no longer an option. As the gears of war began to turn, the fate of the galaxy hung in a precarious balance, one that would soon be decided by a collision of forces and by humanity's last line of defense. On a hidden outpost floating in the uncharted reaches of deep space, humanity's most classified asset lay in waiting. Shielded from detection by a sophisticated array of stealth technology, the base was an impregnable fortress, a testament to humanity's ability to survive and retaliate against any threat. Inside, the dimly lit corridors buzzed with activity as soldiers moved with purpose, each one aware of the gravity of their role. For here was humanity's first and last line of defense, the Special Operations Strike Force, a ruthless team of elite soldiers trained to counteract any hostile force, even one as powerful as Emperor Varanos' empire. At the heart of the strike force was Captain Jax Morrow, a man whose reputation alone was enough to send a chill through his enemies. Tall and muscular, with sharp, calculating eyes that missed nothing, Morrow was a soldier molded by battle, a strategist born from humanity's need to adapt and survive in a galaxy often hostile to their kind. A scar carved across his cheek told of past confrontations, each one a lesson learned and a memory stored. But it wasn't just a skill in combat that set him apart. It was his unwavering commitment to the survival of his people. The briefing room was silent as Morrow stood before his team, his gaze sharp and focused. Every soldier present had been handpicked for their exceptional skill, endurance, and loyalty. Their armor, crafted with Earth's most advanced tech, gleamed under the room's lights. Morrow surveyed them with a stern expression, letting the gravity of their mission sink in. "We've received intel from the Galactic Council," he began, his voice steady and commanding. "Emperor Varanos has officially declared humanity an enemy of the Galactic Empire. He intends to launch a full-scale assault, and it's up to us to ensure he fails. His goal is nothing less than our extinction." A murmur went through the room, quickly stifled by Morrow's raised hand. "This is no ordinary mission," he continued, his tone heavy. "We've dealt with pirate raids, rogue factions, and even hostile alien species before. But Varanos' forces are on another level. They're organized, heavily armed, and outnumber us 1,000 to 1. But they underestimate us. They see humanity as weak, as something to be snuffed out. We're going to show them just how wrong they are." At his words, a steely determination settled over the room. These men weren't just soldiers. They were warriors forged in humanity's struggle for survival. Each of them knew what was at stake, and none doubted their captain's command. One of the squad leaders, Lieutenant Corbin, spoke up, his voice rough yet resolute. "What's the objective, sir?" Morrow locked eyes with him, the faintest hint of a smile on his lips. "Our mission is simple but dangerous. Infiltrate Varanos' palace on Velexer, capture the Emperor alive if possible, and neutralize any threat to humanity's survival. We need to make an example of him, to show the galaxy what happens when they come for us." The room fell into silence as the team absorbed the full weight of their task. Velexer was one of the most heavily fortified planets in the Empire, guarded by layers of defense systems and Varanos' elite soldiers. Even with their advanced technology and years of training, this would be the most dangerous operation they had ever undertaken. As the briefing concluded, Morrow walked over to a holographic display, activating a detailed blueprint of Varanos' palace. His finger traced a path along the hidden corridors, showing the team potential entry points, chokeholds, and weak spots within the palace defenses. "We move in under the cover of night," he explained, using our stealth tech to bypass their sensors. "Once inside, we'll split into 2 teams. one to disable their internal defenses, the other to secure the Emperor. Timing is everything, one wrong move, and we're all as good as dead. The team nodded, fully aware of the stakes. Each soldier checked his gear, calibrating weapons and double-checking armor seals. The strike force's arsenal was impressive, outfitted with plasma rifles, energy shields, and advanced combat drones designed to give them an edge over Varanos' forces. But even with all their preparations, they knew the mission would require more than firepower. It would require absolute precision, courage, and a shared resolve to protect humanity at all costs. As they prepared to embark, Moro paused to look at his team, his voice softening just a fraction. This mission isn't just about survival. It's about showing the galaxy who we are. We may not have fleets, and we may not have numbers, but we have the will to fight. And that's something Varanos and his empire will never understand. A grim nod passed through the team. They knew Moro's words were true. Humanity's resilience was their greatest weapon. Varanos and his empire might possess an overwhelming force, but they were driven by arrogance, blinded by their own belief in superiority. Humanity, on the other hand, had been fighting for its place in the galaxy for generations. Each member of the strike force had grown up in a universe that saw them as expendable, and each had vowed to prove the galaxy wrong. As they suited up and moved to the hangar, Moro led the way, his footsteps echoing through the corridors. The team filed behind him, silent and focused, ready to face whatever waited on Velexer. The mission ahead was perilous, but they were humanity's best hope, and failure was not an option. In the shadowed depths of space, their transport ship hummed to life, its engines whispering a promise of vengeance. With Moro at the helm, humanity's strike force launched into the void, heading straight for the heart of the enemy. And somewhere deep within the palace walls of Velexer, the Emperor remained blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon him. The strike force's ship glided through the Velexer night, invisible against the blanket of stars. Shrouded in the latest stealth technology, it slipped past the orbital defenses undetected, bypassing layer after layer of the planet's security. The ship touched down on the outskirts of Emperor Varanos' palace, an imposing structure of dark spires and towering walls, guarded by waves of alien soldiers patrolling its perimeter. It was a fortress designed to withstand any attack, but Captain Jax Moro and his team had no intention of giving Varanos' forces a chance to fight back. As the team disembarked, Moro activated a holographic map, gesturing to the soldiers who had split off for the first phase of the mission. "Alpha Team," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the comms, "you'll neutralize the security grid. Beta Team, we're moving in to secure the Emperor." He paused, his gaze piercing each member of his squad. "Remember, Varanos' guards are elite. Keep it silent, keep it fast. No mistakes." Moro's team slipped through the palace grounds like shadows, blending into the deep night. Alpha Team, led by Lieutenant Corbin, moved swiftly, disabling security nodes that dotted the outer walls. One by one, the surveillance feeds blinked to static, cameras and alarms rendered useless. Meanwhile, Moro led Beta Team into the labyrinthine corridors of the palace, their presence undetected as they bypassed automated defenses and silent guards patrolling the halls. Inside, the air was thick with a strange, metallic scent, a reminder of the lives Varanos had snuffed out in his conquests. The palace was both grand and brutal, its walls lined with trophies of his defeated enemies, shards of broken armor, twisted weapon fragments, even preserved remains of fallen leaders. To the Emperor, each trophy was a testament to his supremacy, a reminder of the worlds he had crushed beneath his heel. Moro's jaw tightened as he scanned their surroundings, every nerve alert, every step calculated. He and his team moved deeper into the palace, and with every turn, the silence grew heavier, charged with the anticipation of the impending conflict. They approached the heart of the fortress, where Varanos' throne room awaited, their movements precise and disciplined. But as they rounded a final corner, the silence shattered. A piercing alarm blared through the palace, A single oversight had triggered a sensor. In an instant, the halls filled with the sound of rushing footsteps, Varanos' guards mobilizing in response. "Hold position," Morrow commanded, his voice calm yet forceful. "Form up and prepare for contact. We're not leaving until Varanos is ours." The first wave of guards charged, their armor glinting in the dim light. Morrow and his team responded with swift, brutal efficiency, their plasma rifles and energy shields humming as they repelled the onslaught. The corridors erupted into a flurry of flashes and echoes as the strike force cut through the guards, their training and discipline unmatched by Varanos' forces. Morrow moved like a force of nature, his strikes precise, his resolve unbreakable as he cleared a path toward the throne room. At last, they reached the grand doors, reinforced and towering, marked with the alien insignia of Varanos' empire. Beyond those doors, the Emperor waited. Morrow nodded to his demolition specialist, who set a charge at the base of the doors. A flash, a deafening blast, and the doors were reduced to smoldering rubble. They stormed into the throne room, weapons raised. The chamber was vast, its high ceilings and massive pillars carved from obsidian stone. And there, seated upon a towering throne, was Emperor Varanos himself. He rose slowly, a hulking figure clad in gleaming armor, his crimson eyes locking onto Morrow with a look of pure contempt. "So, the insects have crawled into my palace," Varanos sneered, his voice a low, menacing growl. "Did you really think you could challenge me?" Morrow didn't flinch, his gaze steady as he met the Emperor's glare. "We didn't come to challenge you, Varanos. We came to end you." With a roar, Varanos leapt down from his throne, his movements swift and brutal. His armor was equipped with advanced energy shields, deflecting the team's initial barrage of plasma fire. Morrow and his team scattered, evading Varanos' devastating strikes, each one powerful enough to shatter stone. The battle was intense, Varanos' power nearly overwhelming. His strikes were relentless, his rage fueling every attack as he sought to crush the intruders who dared defy him. But Morrow, calm and focused, directed his team with precision, exploiting every brief moment of vulnerability. In the briefest of openings, he landed a shot that disrupted Varanos' shield, causing the Emperor to stagger. Seeing their chance, the team surged forward. They closed in on Varanos, their combined assault coordinated and ruthless. Morrow moved to the front, his fists clenched as he engaged Varanos in hand-to-hand combat. The Emperor was a fierce opponent, his strength monstrous, but Morrow's resilience was unmatched. He dodged and struck, wearing down the Emperor's defenses, each blow weakening the once invincible tyrant. Finally, with a devastating punch, Morrow sent Varanos sprawling, his armor cracked, his breathing labored. The Emperor lay on the ground, defeated, his gaze full of hatred and disbelief. Morrow stepped over him, his voice low and cold. "This is what happens when you threaten humanity." He nodded to his team, and they restrained Varanos, securing him with energy cuffs that neutralized any remaining strength. The throne room fell silent, the battle won. As Morrow surveyed the scene, he allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. They had achieved what the galaxy thought impossible. Varanos was theirs. Mission accomplished, Morrow said over the comms, his voice steady. "Prepare for extraction." With Varanos bound and beaten, the team prepared to depart, knowing that the galaxy would soon hear of this night, a night when humanity defied an empire and emerged victorious. The strike force's transport ship slipped through the darkness of space, its cargo a trophy of humanity's resilience. Emperor Varanos, once the terror of the galaxy, now lay shackled in the ship's hold, his battered form a shadow of the invincible force he had once claimed to be. The silence in the ship was heavy as Morrow and his team watched their captive, his defiant gaze flickering with a mix of anger and confusion. For Varanos, defeat was inconceivable, especially at the hands of those he deemed inferior. Morrow stood tall, his face impassive as he regarded the Emperor. This wasn't just a personal victory. It was a moment of reckoning for all of humanity. "You underestimated us, Veranos," he said, his voice steady and unyielding. "And now the galaxy will know the price of that arrogance." As they approached Earth's orbit, word of Veranos' capture had already spread across the Galactic Council. The news was received with shock, disbelief, and a faint, growing sense of awe. For centuries, Veranos' empire had dominated entire star systems, ruling with an iron hand that tolerated no resistance. But now, with Veranos himself in chains, the empire's invincibility had been shattered, and for the first time, other civilizations found themselves daring to hope. When the Strike Force's ship touched down, they were met by dignitaries, military leaders, and representatives of humanity's council. The sight of Veranos, bound and defeated, sent a shockwave through the assembled crowd. This was a turning point, a declaration that humanity was no longer an isolated force merely surviving in the galaxy. They were a power capable of challenging even the mightiest of foes. Veranos was escorted from the ship, his eyes blazing with rage and indignation. But no one flinched at his furious stare. This was not the feared emperor they had heard of in legends. He was simply a fallen tyrant, defeated and humbled before the species he had sought to exterminate. As Veranos was led away to face a tribunal for his countless war crimes, Captain Morrow stood amidst the crowd, observing the scene with quiet satisfaction. He knew this victory was more than just a single battle won. It was a message to the galaxy that humanity would not be erased, would not be subjugated. Their defiance would echo far beyond this moment, a testament to their strength and resilience. In the days that followed, the Galactic Council convened to assess the implications of Veranos' downfall. Species once cowed by the Emperor's brutal regime began to rally, voices long silenced daring to speak again. For many, humanity's triumph had ignited a spark of rebellion, an invitation to resist oppression and reclaim their freedom. News of the uprising spread quickly, and across Veranos' empire, colonies that had once cowered in fear now rose up, inspired by humanity's audacity. But with victory came the weight of responsibility. As the uprising spread, the Council recognized humanity as a new force within the galactic sphere, and with that acknowledgement came both allies and adversaries. Some saw humanity as a beacon of hope, a new ally in their struggle for freedom. Others, however, viewed them with suspicion, wary of a species that had proven itself both unpredictable and tenacious. In a private meeting with the Galactic Council, Morrow was invited to discuss humanity's new role in the galaxy. Kraylin, the wise elder who had warned Veranos, was among the council members present. His gaze was approving yet measured as he addressed Morrow. "Captain Morrow, humanity has shown remarkable resilience," Kraylin said, his voice thoughtful. "But the galaxy is a complex place, full of alliances and rivalries. Today, you have gained many allies, but there are those who will view your strength as a threat. How does humanity plan to proceed?" Morrow met Kraylin's gaze with respect and confidence. "We want nothing more than to live freely and to ensure that others can do the same. We fought not for conquest, but for survival. Humanity will be a force of stability and protection, not oppression." Kraylin nodded, a glint of approval in his ancient eyes. "Wise words. But be wary, Captain. Power has a way of attracting enemies. Veranos' empire will not dissolve overnight, and his loyalists may seek revenge." Morrow understood the gravity of Kraylin's warning. He knew humanity's journey was far from over. The galaxy was a vast and unpredictable place, and the threats they had faced thus far were only the beginning. Yet he also knew that humanity had proven itself, that they had the strength and resolve to face whatever lay ahead. Back on Earth, the citizens celebrated their newfound place in the galaxy, proud of the Strike Force's courage and the victory they had secured. Morrow, however, found himself reflecting on the future, on the challenges that would undoubtedly arise as humanity carved out its path among the stars. They had earned their place, but they would have to defend it with vigilance and wisdom. As he looked up at the night sky, the stars shining brightly above, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had faced extinction and defied it, had stared down an empire and emerged victorious. And as long as they held on to that spirit, they would continue to survive, to thrive, to forge their own destiny. Emperor Varanos' reign had ended, but humanity's story was just beginning.